Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Avasant Empowering Beyond 2021. It is a pleasure to host this great panel about the power of innovative partnerships to enhance business outcomes. And we have really great topics to talk about, and I appreciate all the different perspectives that we're going to hear from you, and from Kenny and Brian, and as well from DXC. So we're gonna make this a great session. So the topic, and before I go into a quick round of introductions, the topic is really on how we are really changing and making some adjustments in a way that we build innovative partnerships, given all the changes with COVID, all the things that have changed, how we are buying and how we are contracting with different vendors, and how the vendors are making all these changes to be able to accelerate the delivery of transformation to your organizations. So there's a lot of different things that have changed the market, the way that not only we buy products and services, but also on how we are basically getting them from the vendors as well, and the things that they're having to do in order to be able to deliver. So my name is Carlos Hernandez. I am a partner with Avasant. I lead digital transformation and vendor governance for Avasant, as well as other industry verticals. And I have spent about 10, 15 years in this particular domain, and 25 years in consulting. So who would like to go first? Brian or Kenny?
I'm happy to go first.
Yep,
so
great.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session, and thanks for spending time with us, and hope you find this session useful. So my name is Kenny Cheung. I'm the Chief of Procurement for the World Bank Group, and so I guess my interest and I guess hopefully what I have to share will be useful for many of you who participate, because of the global perspective that we can provide, and also with many local experiences that we have also gained. So with that, very good to have seen you, and look forward to the session, Carlos.
Thanks, Kenny. Appreciate it. Brian?
Hi, my name is Brian Kernan, and I'm the Vice President of Indirect Procurement and Vendor Management at Republic National Distributing Company. We're the second largest wine and spirits distributor in the United States. My role began in more of technology procurement and contract management in that. And we've done a number of initiatives and have expanded beyond that to pursue all the indirect procurement for our company in the past year or so. Prior to this, I had similar roles at Anthem and the Kroger Company.
Why don't we go ahead and go with you, Amy?
Yeah, hi there. My name is Amy Leonard, and I'm a global partner development manager with Microsoft. And I have responsibility for the overall global partnership between DXC Technology, which is one of our largest system integrator partners, and Microsoft. Thanks for having us today.
Thanks, Amy. Giorgio?
Yes, nice to meet you. Thank you for hosting us. I'm Giorgio Vanzini. I'm the VP for Alliances and Partnerships at DXC, and delighted to talk about our strategic alliance and partnership that we have with Microsoft and Amy, and how this helps our customers.
So as I was talking with you, I think that given all the changes caused by COVID, from how you buy from vendors and how the vendors have been adjusted their models to add more value while accelerating transformation, the first question is, what key adjustments have you made to achieve more alignment between the business, IT, sourcing, to achieve those business outcomes rapidly and in more alignment with those expectations? And this question is for Kenny. How have you what adjustments have you had to make given all the changes that we have been experiencing in the last 13 months?
Yes, thanks for the question. So Carlos, I think the pandemic in some way has, I wouldn't say dramatically changed the way we go about doing things, but it accelerated some of the changes that we had already planned in place. So if I give you some examples, from a process standpoint, we've actually adjusted some of our policies and procedure in a way that we can, in some way, streamline the due diligence aspect of a lot more efficiently. And that includes the way that we can run a lot of parallel reviews at the same time, for the fact that many people can also do many things virtually. That would help a lot. So we can, and for the fact that we actually can literally and seriously getting rid of paperwork, right? Because I think there is still the dependencies often that lingers on in terms of paper-based reviews. But I think also in the back end, there are aspects in terms of our commercial setup, such as the definition of our payment terms and commercial arrangements that can allow also issues with vendors that may have during the COVID in terms of cash flow, right? And aspect to still maintain the relationship with us without having to, I guess, drop their relationship or the service level because of some financial constraints that they may face. And lastly, I think from a technology standpoint, we have accelerated and adopted, many different parallel ways of getting procurement done. From the fact that we have launched our e-procurement platform, we have expanded the use of our global procurement card, and then also other means of transacting through, let's say, third-party catalog, a B2B portal. That just gives us more options to deal with different I guess, supplier base. The most recent example, certainly in the case of what's happening in India at the moment and the region with the second wave pandemic, we had to accelerate a lot of procurement work to access oxygen concentrators, medical services, where some in the past, a lot of our standard processes just will take too long to do. So therefore, those parallel systems is giving us another flexibility and agility to deal with this so-called pandemic or post-pandemic world that we live in.
Right. So given all the things that you are doing, the adjustments you've made, have you noticed, or what has been your impression of what the vendors have done to be able to make adjustments, to be able to deliver, to make adjustments to your adjustments? In other words, everything that has been going on in India and all the different models, all different things. And based on how you are applying these new technologies, it looks like you have been able to optimize how you're managing your vendors, how you are dealing with different things. You have taken this opportunity to optimize that. But as things continue to evolve, within the World Bank and with the different, areas of the bank, they have to accelerate, as you said, a lot of digitalization and elements of transformation. What have you observed from the vendors? Have you worked with them in terms of creating those innovative partnerships to be able to basically meet that acceleration that you're looking for with more drastic results?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe it's a very good question of their response to reciprocate, and I think with the changes that we accelerated, we actually have to, in some cases, right, get them to change their accounting policies or transaction policies that they may have as an institution, right? For example, let's say the form of procurements that we may do via what we call virtual card, right? So instead of a standard purchase order, we say, hey, we want you to set up an ability to accept some form of a credit card, but in a virtual manner, so that we can make the transaction a lot smoother and faster. The vendors themselves, in fact, welcome that request from us, and then they had to then go through the internal CFOs and so forth to change their policies, for example. But that partnership means that we can actually streamline and also make the transactional relationship a lot more frictionless, if I can call it that way.
Mm-hmm. Good. And, I love that perspective. And then, I would like to hear from Giorgio and Amy, because one of the things that, I love about these panels, you're saying, hey, these are the adjustments that we've made, the policy changes that we've made, and how our expectations have maybe adjusted a little bit. So important to hear from their perspective, what have they done very quickly to be able to make those adjustments, and then to form the partnerships that now, are required to meet this, to meet your business needs. Because one of the things that have changed is not only the velocity in which transformation and innovation have to be implemented, it is essentially, from the commercial perspective, more involvement and more the adoption of more innovative commercial models, right? That are more, not only just business outcomes, but with a risk-reward kind of model. So I would like to hear from Giorgio and Amy your perspective on that based on what Kenny just shared with us.
Sure, I'll go first, Amy, if you don't mind. I'll give you I'll build on what Kenny said, basically, right? From a customer perspective, which is spot on. We're seeing exactly the same kind of tractions. When I think about it, there's different facets to it. So in the past, we've seen, as Kenny indicated, customers going after large transformational programs. Now, with COVID kind of shifting in, we see more of a continuous transformation programs going on. So more of a piecemeal kind of approach of like moving fast, but also moving stuff online and being more adaptive in that sense. And then from a large IT perspective, I also have seen more of like the sunrise and sunset, kind of approach of what kind of, applications or services could we actually sunset, which new ones bringing on in a continuous fashion as well. So it's almost like the agile model is taking over the business model as well of like, being more flexible and having more agility. And then obviously the other component is the big one, which we're working very closely together with Microsoft as well, is like work from home, right? That has shifted dramatically how people interact. And has given us new opportunities to work with customers. Traditionally, we've worked very much in the same way that we've worked remotely. It hasn't been much of a shift. But I think for a lot of our customers, the work from home or the remote and the collaboration and the workflows and the processes necessarily and security around it as well, right? If you think about, remote access, cybersecurity becomes vital of like, how do you get the content, how you share the content. And then related to that, the support infrastructure as well. And so from that perspective, while in the past we've seen large cloud transformation, it's more of like, how can we pull in certain applications early on, or certain services early on, like we mentioned.
Yep. Amy, any perspective?
Yeah, well, for Microsoft, our partners influence more than 95% of our commercial revenue, either directly or in partnership with Microsoft. So we need to make sure that we are providing our partners, with that opportunity to be more agile, so that they can in turn, deliver those solutions, those transformational solutions to our joint customers. So, we're rewarding our partners like DXC, that are able to drive those strong results for our customers. And we're enhancing how our partners engage and transact with Microsoft. So, we are continuing to invest in programs and infrastructure, to help them develop those skills and allow them to achieve, that business growth, improve the end customer experience, via whether it's procurement, how they go to market, the programs that they're delivering, and ultimately how we're all providing transformational business outcomes to our customers.
Correct. Brian, we are talking about the topic that we've been talking about is right now, how has the ecosystem of partnerships have changed given all the different things caused by COVID and the way that the companies are buying services from the vendors, and the way that vendors are having to adjust their different delivery models and to deliver those services and to drive transformation, drive innovation faster in closer alignment with the business outcome. We'd love to hear from your perspective the elements that have changed and the adjustments that you have had made in the last 12 months to achieve more alignment with the business, IT, and sourcing to achieve faster and better business outcome.
Sure. Well, that's a great topic given what's going on today. So one of the big things that we've had to go through is doing everything virtually like everyone else. We've had a number of, I'll say, significant modernization issues and challenges that we've been going through. And historically, we would have gone through and had a number of cycles on site with our business, with our partners and so on. And we've really done all those things virtually. And given the ability of the tools and I'll say folks' capability to work through that, we've been able to continue and be, I'll say, just as productive. I mean, maybe probably a little bit more intensely because every hour of the day gets gobbled up when you're online and doing video things versus, I'll say, being in person. But we've been able to to work through that pretty well. And I think it's been one of those where the tools were out there. We stressed them a little bit. The different partners adapted to it, and so did our people. And I think that's really created, I'll say, an edge for us as we've continued to move forward during this time frame.
Right. Now, as we see all these changes, the next question is about what innovative measures or models are you applying to better obtain sustainable value from your ecosystem of partners?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I know, Kenny, you were talking a little bit about that, but we'd like to make it more precise from that perspective.
We're really trying to align with, I'll say, a handful of partners or specialty partners in different swim lanes or in different spaces. So we don't go through our exercise every time to find the partner. We really have attempted to align with certain partners so we can drive our transformation in a quicker way to be more flexible to what comes up with the business and to not go through, I'll say, a lot of traditional bake-off type of things. We try to bake off in these lanes and then align our partnerships to be specific so we can be more nimble.
Right. Now, as part of that, and given the procurement cycles now being faster, I mean, in many cases, I don't know if you in your organization, you're applying the agile procurement approaches, right? Now, what, based on that, and if looking at the procurement cycles now being a lot faster, and not only that, but the autonomy that a lot of the business units and either, in RNDC and the World Bank, now they feel like, hey, we know enough, we all know technology, we know our own vendors, we can just deal with them directly, right? So what measures to be able to kind of keep control of the ecosystem of partnership, what measures and what capabilities have you guys implemented to be able to achieve the economies of scale, to be able to do proper performance management along the way?
Sure. Well, I'd say the biggest aspect that we've used really has more to do with process because we've tried to include our business partners when we go through our vendor scoring and our vendor meetings that we have with them, and they understand the alignment that we have. And when we work through our contracts and that, which is, I'll say, part of our process as well, they know that all those things kind of have to funnel and integrate with procurement. So they can't kind of skip a step and skip around us because they can't get that done. We have our workflows set up in our contract management system, as well as within our procurement system to enable us to, I'll say, kind of force folks to remain on the path. And the challenge, like you said, has become for us to become as nimble as possible and leverage the different tools in that to make us not necessarily a roadblock, but a streamlined partner along the way with our business.
Yes, Kenny, what about from your perspective?
I think, look, in building on what Brian had just shared, I think another thing we are adding a lot more focus on as a procurement partner is to get involved and also get ahead upstream in bringing in a lot more market intelligence to drive the decisions rather than reacting to a business needs when the business may flag it. So we have regular touch points where we join on the single strategy roundtable upfront and being a partner there. We go out and actually bring in the intelligence way before even we consider let's say go-to-market strategy to say, hey, these are the different dynamics, right, of new entrants and or emerging players that might be coming on stream. We start researching or listen even on a eventual negotiation of what we call the should be or the should cost, right, be. And so we target a lot of our procurement with those goals in mind. So therefore, that whole aspect of market intelligence and benchmark that we can bring in upfront shapes the business strategy, shapes their idea of what should be insourced, what should be outsourced, what should be partnered and to deliver what they need. And then we talk about the actual mechanics of procurement. But that's a pretty straightforward exercise once you determine your direction up front. But so our role to bring in that intelligence is being valued a lot more.
Right. Any perspective from your side, Giorgio?
It gels with the experience that we have as well as, like, as I think was mentioned before as well by Kenny, is like a lot of the processes have been moving electronically to digital environments, right? Also because of COVID, right? So everything is kind of virtual, which kind of makes it more streamlined as well. And so we've seen a lot more streamlined engagement with our customers in that direction as well. So it absolutely reflects the systems integrator view as well of working with customers like Kenny or Brian.
Has this caused you guys to change or to basically implement some additional commercial models to enable that alignment faster and more effectively?
It actually has had changes in the speed and the agility internally on how we have to react to this as well. Because as I mentioned before, is like customers have asked us to aggregate together different vendors or capabilities. And now, because you're doing this in a virtual world, it has accelerated the internal conversations. So when you talk to engineering or delivery and you talk to the sales organization, you have to come a lot faster. So this actually has forced us to become more efficient internally as well. So it actually has been a blessing to us, because our customers actually forced us to do the same things that they're doing on their side for us internally as well. So,
right now, and this question is, I'm generalizing a little bit, but as we go through this, I think the next question is, has the ecosystem of partnerships changed, right? Is the makeup of those partnerships changed? I mean, Kenny, as going back to this, with more focus on customer satisfaction and customer experience, have you seen the shift in the type of partnerships and the type of partnerships to drive innovation at that ecosystem?
I mean, the short answer is I don't think it changed dramatically. But one thing I may be able to call out was specifically that we're finding there's more multi-party partnership that takes place to form a solution than, let's say, a one-to-one relationship that we're seeing. I think because everyone realized the capability that they need to bring together to satisfy a client requirements is no longer necessarily satisfiable by one single provider, but yet the best of breed multi-level partnership, that multi-party partnership is becoming, I have observed a lot more prominence. And that is a good thing too, because I think that creates a very agile, very versatile so-called set of a comprehensive solution set that if you expect one supplier or one vendor relationship to satisfy all, often that is not going to be the case. There will be some kind of compromise. So yeah, I'm not sure if that is a common trend across the board, but this is what one change in terms of partnership, answering your question, Carlos.
Yeah. I mean, correct. So I see a shift in terms of the ecosystem of partnerships. There's a lot of switch, among themselves, and the way that, and I agree that years ago the multi-source environment used to be in place. Then it went kind of it was simplified quite a bit into a more one vendor, maybe two vendors, but now there is a lot more specialized vendors and each vendors and different things, which obviously creates some additional churn and layers of management in your organization to be able to manage, for example, overall performance from the end-to-end perspective across the partnership of vendors, right? So, in terms of, managing performance, accountability, and even the overall model, have you made some additional adjustments to that? And, now even with COVID, with, some vendors not being able to perform as you expect, some other ones that are just popping and saying like, hey, I can do this for you now immediately if you cannot get it done, and so on?
Again, I think I wouldn't say dramatic changes with our major vendors because a lot of our big relationship. I mean, even let's say we have a large relationship with Microsoft as well. I mean, that hasn't really shifted significantly. But I would say the small to medium size vendors, yes, perhaps some of the performance assessment we have to do it in kind of shorter term windows because they come and go in many ways, and also one of the key things that we do, Carlos, is about their so-called health of their financial viability, right? In many ways, and because the pandemic has really shifted their level of stability in the market and certainty, we have to do more frequent assessments. We have to do more frequent due diligence, right? Just to make sure that we have a sustainable, base of vendors that can ride through the waves up and down or whatever that may be, and also give us fallback options, right? Should any, let's say, one of the vendor relationship go under, right? Because things are changing. So I think the frequency of assessments and the way we manage those performance on small and medium enterprises that we deal with certainly has increased, but not the case with our larger partnership and vendors. That hasn't really affected it. Yeah.
Amy and Giorgio, have you seen the same effect coming from your clients as Kenny is talking about?
I do. I kind of second that in a sense. I see consolidation from the customer side, and the requirement being you, as a system integrator like DXC, you deal with the different vendors that you have, because I don't want to deal with 10, 15 different vendors to make the solution all happen. So act as the general contractor in that sense, from a deployment, licensing, and development perspective and management perspective. Now, a lot of these things make it easier because customers are migrating to cloud services. So when we go to Azure, then it makes it a lot easier because Microsoft has such a wealth of a partner ecosystem. So most of the time, the other partners or vendors are already in the ecosystem. So then managing it for the customer makes it a lot easier as well. And so that, when they have consumption or storage requirements, they can be consolidated in one way and shape or form as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can support that by just saying that from Microsoft's perspective, right? Our partner ecosystem is designed to create opportunities for our partners so that they can innovate, add value to their offerings, connect with their customers, other partners that are in that ecosystem, right? And Microsoft. So we succeed when our partners have the tools and the support to deliver those transformative solutions. So we are continually, reassessing that ecosystem, and we're actually going to be going into our new fiscal year soon. And I've already heard that we're going to be, tweaking things so that we can provide that agility and allow our partners and our customers thereby, therefore to be, even more successful in, delivering those outcomes, getting those outcomes that they need. So continually evolving and, just rethinking how we do things is now, I think, what every vendor has to do, right, in this new world.
Net, yes, it is a change. It has an impact, but it also allows us to be more efficient and more transparent and reply faster to customer needs as well.
Right, Brian, have you seen the same thing from your suppliers and accelerate digitalization in your organization to adjust to that?
Absolutely. I mean, things are just moving at warp speed, and I think as was mentioned before, trying to keep up and making sure that we get things significantly sooner and being involved in the process way up front with the direction the business is going. That's helped us as well. That's a big part of things.
Right, and and this is all this is really great conversation on the grounds. But what would you guys do differently if you had the opportunity to have all the budget that you could on the vision that you have? What would you do differently today or in the next 60 to 120 days?
I'd say for me, I'd probably want to expand the tool set that we have and then I'll say socialize that out within the organization so folks understand that it's something that can be leveraged to accelerate the change in the efforts.
Right. Kenny, what about you?
I think there is certainly a greater appetite for experimentation than before, and therefore, rather than getting to, it's kind of a 100% solution, I think what we are probably going to have the so-called imperative to move faster, but also then to be able to experiment and fail fast and learn from it. I think is something that is so hopefully it's going to be something we can retain, right? So therefore, different tool set, different aspects. Do we have to have 100% proof of concept, right? Or are we satisfied with 80% and we go ahead with it as long as you have good fallback position? I think that attitude change is something that I hope we can retain. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
What about on your side, Giorgio and Amy? What would you do differently today if you had the opportunity and limited budget?
Well, Christmas comes early, right? So, like, if we had that magic wand, that would be great. It's all about, on our side, it's all about people, because those are our biggest assets. And so, when I think about the workplace environment and the flexibility that people now have, working from home or remotely, right? Even more so, and making sure that they're actually empowered and enabled to do the work. And with that comes core infrastructure. So we talked about network connectivity before, security, right? So if you have people remote working, and then you give them all the tools and set them up with the appropriate infrastructure at their place of choice, then also having access to customers' infrastructure and having a secure environment. So a lot of core infrastructure investments are needed to make that happen. And so hopefully we can accelerate that even further in the future.
Yeah, I would say that, at least speaking from a technology vendor perspective, right, we provide the tools and the solutions that our customers need. And in this case here, I think a lot of customers would look back and wish they had the opportunity to get more insights from their data faster. And goes to Kenny's point that it allows us to experiment. It allows us to understand more about what really can impact that business or can help out, drive that ultimate, employee experience. And so some of these things that weren't really done in the past because it wasn't perceived as being important, even for some of these systems that weren't modernized, a lot of businesses were really being held back. So being more on the forefront, especially from a data perspective, and even having that core infrastructure in place, like Giorgio mentioned, is really just becoming more and more important for companies to think about more proactively than they had in the past.
Excellent. I think that, I certainly appreciate everybody's participation and, great ideas and the ability for us to share our perspectives on this interesting topic. And I love hearing how each of you individually in your organizations have made the different adjustments and find ways to accelerate transformation, drive innovation to your customers, and how your customers, looking at Kenny and Brian, are very rapidly adopting newer technologies and tightening up their processes to be able to meet the demand, the high-speed demand that is now required, that it just comes probably in larger volumes than in the past, with a more complex ecosystem of partners. So I think that as we look into this, as we look at the ongoing evolution of the procurement function and how we engage with vendors and ecosystem of partnerships, that innovation is going to continue to go. That innovation, because transformation doesn't stop. It's not just about having a project. It's just an ongoing element, and it's going to get faster in shorter cycles, which require us to be a lot more effective in the way that we do things with our clients and how we engage with the vendors. But want to thank everyone. In the name of Avasant, hopefully you have the opportunity to enjoy other sessions and Empowering Beyond this year, and look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.